Hi everyone, Rimon here. So this is a presentation on marriage in Christianity or biblical marriage by Rimon Salam. That's me, by the way. So without further ado, we're going to get into it. So these are the things we're going to bring up. This is a table of content. Jesus lays down the foundation of a biblical marriage. Each man should have his own way and satisfying the bed and all this stuff. Okay. Jesus lays down the foundation of a biblical marriage. Now, when it came to pass, when Jesus had finished these sayings, that he departed from Galilee and came to the regions of Judea beyond the Jordan, and great multitudes followed him, and he healed them there. The Pharisees also came to him, testing him and saying to him, "Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for just any cause?" And let me fix this. And he answered and said unto them, "Have you not read that he that made them at the beginning made them male and female, and said, For this reason a man shall leave his wife, leave his mother. For this reason a man shall leave his father and mother, and join to his wife." Not wives, but wife. Singular, not plural. "And the two shall become one flesh." Not four fleshes or five fleshes or seven fleshes, but one flesh. So then they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let not man separate. Now, in context, this is talking about divorce, but we can get the gist of it, of the biblical framework for marriage. Now we're going to go to St. Paul's letter on 1 Corinthians 7, 1-4. "Now concerning the things of which you wrote to me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, because of sexual immorality, let each man have his own wife." Again, singular, not each man have his own wives. "And let each woman have her own husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does, and likewise the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does." That is 1 Corinthians 7, 1-4. "Marriage is honorable amongst all, and the bed undefiled, but fornicator is an adulteress God will judge." Hebrews 13, 4. Now, we're going to go into bishops and deacons and what their roles are in the church and how they are to set an example to the rest of the believers. And one such example they should set up is being a husband to one wife. This is a true saying. If a man desires the office of a bishop, he desires a good work. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, the husband of one wife, not the husband of many wives. Good, given to hospitality, apt to teach, sober-minded, of good behavior, hospitable, able to teach, not given to much, not given to wine, not violent, not greedy for money, but gentle, not quarrelsome, not covetous, one who rules his own house well, having his children in submission with all reverence. For if a man does not know how to rule his own house well, his own house, how will he take care of the church of God? Not novice, least being puffed up with pride, he falls in the same condemnation as the devil. Moreover, he must have a good testimony amongst those who are outside, lest he falls into the reproach and the snares of the devil. Likewise, deacons must be reverent, not double-tongued, not given to much wine, not greedy for money, holding the mysteries of faith with a pure conscience, but let those also first be tested. Then let them serve as deacons, being blameless. Likewise, their wives must be reverent, not slanderers, temperate, faithful in all things. Let the deacons be the husband of one wife, not many. Again, it says, let the deacons be the husband of one wife. Again, they're supposed to set an example to the rest of the believers. And one such example they should be is to be the husband of one wife, not many, ruling their children and their own house well. For those who serve well as a deacon obtain for themselves a good standing and a great boldness in faith, which is in Christ Jesus. Now, yes, so deacons are to set good examples for the believing men, that they should be faithful to their wives and not go after other women. As it says here, bishops are to be husbands of one wife, and the deacons are to be husbands of one wife. Drink water out of thine own system, and running water out of thy own well. Let thy fountains be diverse abroad, and rivers of water in the streets. Let them be only thine own, and not strangers with thee. Let thy fountains be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Look, this is singular and not plural. So it does not say rejoice in the wives, rejoice with your wives, as in plural sense, but it rejoice with your wife, singular, of your youth. Let her be. It doesn't say let them be as a loving hin. Let their breasts. It does not say let their breasts. It says let her breast satisfies thee at all time, and be ravished always with her love. her love, not their love. And why willeth my son be ravished with a strange woman and embracing bosom of a stranger? So here we see a father giving his advice to his son, saying to remain faithful and be satisfied with the wife that he has in his youth, not as, and not to go after other women and have them as your wife. Otherwise, he'll be known as an adulterer, and she'll be known as an adulterer. So basically, it's saying here, don't have an affair. Be satisfied with your wife. Be engulfed with her being engulfed with her and her alone. That's what this verse is saying. Proverbs 5:15-20. Next one is God condemns and warns against a polygamous marriage. God in Malachi 2:13-15 is condemning a polygynous man, that is a polygynous, that is a man having more than one wife. So marriage in Christianity is not between one man and multiple women as his wives, because marriage in Christianity is a sacred covenant between one man and one woman. Now this has come from Malachi 2:13-15. Another thing you do, you flood the Lord's altar with tears. You weep and wail because he no longer looks with favor on your offerings or accepts them with pleasure from your hands. You ask why? It is because the Lord is witness between you and the wife of your youth. You have been unfaithful to her, though she is your partner, the wife of your marriage covenant, not they are your partners or the wives of your marriage covenants. Has not the one God made you? You belong to him in body and spirit. And what does the one God seek? Godly offspring. So be on your guard and do not be unfaithful to your wife. It doesn't say do not be unfaithful to your wives, but singular, plural, the wife of your youth. Notice here it says wife and not wives, meaning singular and not plural. God is warning against bigamy. The Lord is warning against bigamy. God is commanding the Levitical priest not to go after other women and that they are to remain faithful to their wives. This doesn't just apply to the priest, but to all believing men, because it wouldn't make sense that a priest is not allowed to go after other women, but regular men, believing Christian men. That wouldn't make any sense whatsoever. God's plan for marriage ever since creation was between one man and one woman. Deuteronomy 17:7, an Israelite king is to have one wife for himself. So King David and his son King Solomon sinned by having multiple wives. They would stick with their own wives. Conclusion. We can conclude that marriage in the Bible is a sacred covenant between one man and one woman. The Bible strictly prohibits a polygamous marriage. That's because marriage is hold on 1 minute, folks. The Bible strictly prohibits a polygamous marriage. That's because marriage in Christianity is monogamous and not polygamous. All right. So that's my presentation that I wanted to share with you guys. So I'm going to go through the presentation, sum up the presentation, rephrase it. So Jesus lays down the groundwork for biblical marriage. Each man should have their own wife and satisfy in bed. Bishops and deacons are to be husbands. The are to be husbands. The husband are to be the husbands of one wife. This is a father giving advice to his son not to be satisfied with his own wife and not to go after other women. This is singular and not plural. This is God condemning and warning against polygynous marriage. And then the conclusion. So we can conclude from this that marriage in Christianity is between one man and one woman, a sacred covenant between one man and one woman, and not one man with multiple women. All right. Thanks for listening and peace. Though I'm not a Christian, this is what I wanted to get out of my mind for a long time. Thank you. Bye.